Hey friends, it's Xuan from the Homeschool Front, and I'm so excited to start the year off fresh. And today I'm going to share with you some tips on how you can reset your homeschool while I'm resetting mine right now. So let's get to it. So a new year, even though we've already started the school year, just something about starting a new year is just really exciting for homeschoolers and just everyone in general. And it's a time for us to reset our space. So as some of you know, I am half Vietnamese, and we celebrate the Lunar New Year, which I believe in 2023 happens sometime in January 22nd, 23rd, I'm not sure. So don't hold me on to that. But traditionally, growing up, we always cleaned our house, decluttered and cleaned our house and reset our living space for the new year to bring in the new year with a fresh, clean start. And so we do celebrate the Western New Year as well, and we do the same thing where we reset our home, reset our space, and I just want to share with you what I do to reset my home and my space and our homeschool, because homeschool is a part of life, our life here. It's kind of hard to separate, life from homeschooling when it's just so ingrained and it's a part of everything that you do. And so you'll see me doing some things that are just personally for myself so that I have space in my brain to be the best homeschool mom possible. And then also just general things we do around the house to prepare it for the new year. So one of the first things I like to do is to reset our homeschool space. So like getting rid of old papers and old notebooks and old workbooks. We don't need to keep a portfolio, so we don't need to save those things. I will save projects that my kids really worked hard on, but just daily work kind of stuff, we don't need to keep all of that. And so I am just going to toss it all. And then also, as you know, we've been in the process of redesigning our homeschool space, but we had to take a little break because some unexpected trauma that happened earlier this year, which unfortunately I can't go into detail. So I just want to brainstorm ways where we can make our environment more efficient, more productive, because that's one of my goals this year, is to be focused and productive. So we'll probably move furniture around, and we had to move some furniture in here to make room for something in our bedroom. And so eventually we're going to be able to move our dresser back into our bedroom, and then I can get a new desk for the kids. Another thing I like to do when resetting the space is to reorganize our supplies, because oftentimes, life gets really busy and we just end up like shoving things here and there. Oh, we'll get to it later. And so it's a good time of the year to just reorganize. And I feel like I do this I know this is like a big thing to do at the beginning of a new year, but I also feel like I do this every quarter. Like I feel like every 3 months or so, I feel like our life needs to be reset. And so I take time to do that. I also like to utilize the idea of mise en place. I don't know if you're familiar with that term. It's a cooking term where you just pretty much, you gather everything that you need, you prepare what you need to prepare, and you put them in place so that it's easy to get to when you are in the middle of cooking. And so I try to do that as well with our homeschool and our life. I like to put everything that we're going to use in a basket, and it's not in a morning basket because we don't do morning baskets, but it's just a basket of our current school supplies or school books and curriculum and notebooks, etc., that we're using. And so that's what, just having everything in one spot, because I gather a lot of school supplies and I gather a lot of curriculum and stuff, and so they're stored away in a cabinet, but we don't usually go in there. And so like having a basket of supplies that we use daily is, it's helpful. It's like ready to go. So next is resetting your productivity system. So to-do lists, like we often have a long to-do list that we haven't really gotten to everything yet, especially by the end of the year. And so I just start marking them off. I just start doing all the things that I've been procrastinating on and just get that done. And I also have a daily planning ritual where like usually before dinner time, before I'm exhausted, I like to see what have we accomplished that day and what we need to do the next day. And so I make sure that I schedule that in, that I get it done, the daily planning ritual. And then also, you know, when you do plan, because something about starting a new year, we kind of have lofty ideas and kind of go overboard, is to try to keep it to like the bare minimum of what you planned. So like if we could just do one thing the next day to make homeschool successful, what would that be? And that is pretty much the bare minimum of my planning. And I think if we plan and do too much, we often get overwhelmed and then we start resisting the to-do list and the plans and all that, which is why usually by the end of the year I have a long to-do list that I need to get done. And so just trying to minimize that to-do list, and especially for homeschool, like we want to be able to do everything, but we don't have to. We don't have to cover all 6, 7, 8 subjects a day. Like for us, we may cover 2 or 3, if that, sometimes just 1. So yeah, having a daily planning ritual has been really great, because even though I am not a big planner per se, where I schedule things out and plan like the whole entire year, I do like to have some sort of structure so that we're consistent and that we're productive. And then also a weekly planning ritual, and then maybe even a monthly or quarterly planning ritual. I like to plan quarterly and then just check in on everything every month, every week, every day. So it's just you do what's best for you and your personality and how your brain works. I've always had trouble focusing and being consistent and following through. And so this year, or this past year, or the past few months I should say, I've really been trying to add more structure to my life so that I can be better present for my kids' lives, for their homeschool. So next is to reset your morning and evening routine. And now, before I started doing this, I was really reluctant to set strict routines. And my routines are not strict, my routines are very flexible. But I just felt like it would be too stifling. And what I realized is that setting these routines enabled me to have more executive function, you know how like when you're driving and you're driving home and it's just very routine, you know how to get there, and the next thing you know you're there, you weren't really paying attention. Well, that's kind of like with my morning and evening routines. Like I don't have to do much thinking to do it, and then it just allows me to have more room in my brain for like, you know, higher level thinking when it comes to homeschooling and for working on my blogs, etc. And so it's just been really helpful to establish those routines. And I wrote them down so that I can see them every day and say, okay, yeah, I did that, I did that, I did that. So having kind of like a checklist for your routines is very helpful. But sometimes you don't want to depend on your memory because sometimes it fails on you, you know, especially when you're tired or you're hungry or you're just cranky and or you're just getting older. So I don't actually check off my routine list. It's just I mentally check it off as I read it and look at it and say, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that. But I also create like a routine for the bare minimum as well, because some days are chaotic and I can't do everything on my routine, and I'm not going to be like, I must do everything. If I don't, I'm going to have an unsuccessful day. Now, instead, I at least get like 3 things done off of my routine, and then I can feel, okay, closing off my day or starting off my day the right way so that I have a successful day. So really quick, when I was talking about routines, like I was writing down my personal routine so that I can start the day off on the right foot for my kids. I don't really write down my kids' routines because they kind of establish that themselves. I don't want to tell them what their routine should be, you know? And so we do have like our agenda board where I write down everything that needs to get done, and my kids kind of fall into their own routine based on that information of what we need to get done. And so like I don't want to dictate to my kids how they should be living, but I feel that the way I live my life is a good example for them, if that makes sense. So next I'd like to revisit our homeschool mission and vision just to make sure that we still align to it. It's still meeting our needs, does it need revision, etc. And if it does, then I'll revise that and then create a new vision board to go along with it. But so far, our vision and mission statement is still true to heart, and so I don't need to revise it at this time. So the next thing I like to do is to reset our technology. Just get rid of apps I no longer use, turn off notifications that may be on, apps that I do use but I don't want to use all the time, like Instagram and any type of social media. I actually remove it from my phone and put it on my iPad, which I don't use as often. And then I also don't have it on any of my home screens. Instead, I have to really search for it in order to find them. My goal is for my phone and for all my technology to not be social media focused. Even though there are benefits to social media, I feel like there are more negative consequences for using it. It's really a time suck. It's diminishing our attention spans. And so I'm making an effort not to be on social media that much. And you probably notice that for those of you that follow me on Instagram, you probably notice that I haven't been on there for a few months. And I do plan on coming back after the new year, just in a limited capacity. And I'm really, really putting boundaries upon myself to not use social media that often. I have timers and like I said, I make it hard for me to go into it and find it. And then also changing the wallpaper. I feel like I need to change my wallpaper every few months. And so right now is a great time to do that. And I try to have a very serene and calming wallpaper, or maybe inspiring. So consider changing your wallpaper as well. And then another thing, which I know I have a friend, which she showed me her phone several months ago, and there was thousands of emails on her Gmail account, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, you need to delete those. And so I recommend that you schedule in time, you take an hour, maybe 30 minutes or an hour or however long you want, and you just delete all those old emails. If they are there, you do not need them anymore. If it's been over a year, you do not need them. If it's even been over a month, you do not need those old emails. Just get rid of them. A lot of us use our emails as kind of like to-do lists. And so having less emails on your phone or in your inbox is really great for it's just really great all around. There's nothing like having a zero inbox. And so I really recommend that you take the time and effort to delete those old emails. And if you're getting ads or discounts or discount codes or whatever from companies that you rarely ever use or don't want to use because you don't want to spend a bunch of money, then start deleting those subscriptions. Start unsubscribing to things, and that will help your inbox tremendously. And what is it? We tend to look at our emails quite often. And so I recommend as well is to limit your interaction with your phone and your emails. Try to say, okay, I'm just gonna check my emails once in the morning and once in the evening. So that's 2 times a day, instead of some people have notifications and they're checking their emails constantly. And the next, what I like to do is to declutter my project management tool. So I use ClickUp. I know some people use Notion, others, are still old school and use their pen and paper notebooks, or some people use Asana. There's Monday. There's just so many different project management tools, and we use ours for both our homeschool, and I use it to keep track of all my blogs and my YouTube channels. And so sometimes we have to manage that, and maybe we forgot to check off an item as being completed, or we kind of overplanned and need to reorganize things so that we're not overwhelmed, then that's what I do. Or maybe alerts. I set it where I was getting alerts or notifications for all the little small tasks that I had to do, and it's like that was too much. And so I had to go back and change some of the settings so that I wasn't overwhelmed when I looked at my ClickUp inbox. Hey, editing Xuan here. And another thing I forgot to add is to reset your mind by brain dumping. Get rid of all those ideas, all those things that in your head that you want to do in life or in your homeschool or what have you. Just get it all down on paper and just get rid of them. Just get them out of your head so that you have more room for higher level thinking. And so brain dumping is an important step to resetting your mind. And then also, like I mentioned kind of before about the to-do list, is like just writing down all the things that you need to get done or want to get done before the end of the year or before you start the new year. And you know, when the end of the year and the start of your year, it's all arbitrary. It's all, you know, time is a human construct. And so you can start it whenever. You can start your new year before the new year happens, right? Or you can start fresh before that, or you can start fresh after the new year. And you don't have to have your goals like set on New Year's Day. You can wait a little bit. So before you start setting goals for this new year, I feel like resetting your homeschool and your life in general is a great step to get started. And once you kind of clear that slate, then it'll be easier for you to reflect on the year and set goals or intentions and so forth. So make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit that like button if you haven't done so yet, and hit that bell as well, because I do have a couple more videos coming up that talk about goal planning and setting intentions for the year. I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, Happy New Year. Unsubscribe. Unsubscribe. Unsubscribe.